The 1-Minute Manager, by Kenneth Blanchard and Spencer Johnson. Introduction. Have you ever wondered what makes a truly great leader? Not just a boss, but someone who makes you want to be better, someone who gets incredible results without crushing the spirits of their team? A young man once went on a search for this very person. He traveled the world, speaking to all kinds of managers. He met the tough ones, the hard-nosed, bottom-line executives. Their organizations seemed to win, but their people always lost. They were stressed, fearful, and unhappy. Then he met the nice ones, the participative, supportive managers. Their people seemed to win, but their organizations often lost. They were friendly, but results were mediocre. The young man was discouraged. It seemed every manager was only half a manager, good with results, or good with people, but never both. He was about to give up. And then, he heard stories. Whispers of a special manager in a nearby town. A man whose team was the most productive in the entire country, and yet, his people were also the happiest. They loved working for him. It sounded impossible. The young man, curious and skeptical, made a phone call. The manager's secretary put him right through, and the manager said he could meet any time, except for a brief meeting on Wednesday morning. This was the beginning of a journey that would uncover 3 simple, almost secret techniques of management that were so powerful they could change everything. The 1-Minute Manager, by Drs. Kenneth Blanchard and Spencer Johnson, is not just a book, it's a phenomenon. This tiny little story, written in simple, clear language, became a national sensation, selling millions of copies and fundamentally changing how businesses think about leadership. It presents a philosophy so straightforward, yet so profound, that it seems almost too good to be true. Today, we're going to walk alongside that young man. We're going to uncover those 3 secrets together. And I promise you, by the end of our time, you will not only understand how to be a more effective leader of others, but a far more effective manager of yourself. These aren't complicated theories. They are simple actions that take only a minute, but their impact can last a lifetime. Book summary. When the young man first walked into the manager's office, he was struck by how calm and uncluttered it was. The man he met was equally calm. He was direct, but not unkind. The young man began asking his questions, trying to categorize him. "Are you a participative manager?" he asked. "On the contrary," the manager replied, "I don't believe in participating in my people's decision-making." The young man was confused. "So you're results-oriented, then?" "No," the manager said, startling him. "How on earth can I get results if it's not through people? I care about people and results. They go hand in hand." He pointed to a small plaque on his desk. It read, "People who feel good about themselves produce good results." It was so obvious, yet so overlooked. The young man was beginning to see. "So," he said, "helping people feel good about themselves is a key to getting more done." "Yes," the manager agreed. "Exactly." But when the young man asked him to describe his management style, the answer he got was baffling. "I'm a 1-minute manager," he said with a smile. A what? The name itself sounded like a gimmick. He explained that he called himself that because it took him very little time to get very big results from people. The young man was deeply skeptical. How could that be possible? Seeing the doubt on his face, the manager did something unexpected. He didn't try to convince him. Instead, he said, "You'd better talk to my people if you really want to know what kind of manager I am." He handed him a list of the 6 people who reported to him. "Pick any name," the manager said. "Talk to any one of them or all of them." The young man, accustomed to being guided, hesitated. "Well, who should I start with?" The manager's tone became firm. almost sharp. "I don't make decisions for other people," he said. "Make that decision yourself." "Frankly, young man, I find that annoying. Do not ask me to repeat myself." The visitor was stunned. The air grew thick with an uncomfortable silence. Just as quickly, though, the manager's warmth returned. He shook the young man's hand and told him he admired his desire to learn. He offered the concept of the 1-minute manager as a gift, one that had been given to him long ago. And so, the young man, a little dazed, began his real journey by meeting with the manager's team. The first person he spoke to was a man named Mr. Trennell. "He told you about being a 1-minute manager, didn't he?" Trennell asked with a knowing smile. "It's true. I hardly ever see him." "So you get no help from him?" the young man asked. "Essentially very little," Trennell replied. "Although he does spend time with me at the beginning of a new task. That's when he does 1-minute goal setting." This, Trennell explained, was the first of the 3 secrets. And it was the foundation of everything. The first secret: 1-minute goals. In most companies, Trennell said, if you ask an employee what their job is, and then you ask their boss the same question, you often get 2 completely different answers. People get in trouble for not doing things they didn't even know were their job. It's a game of no-win. But not here. Here, there are no surprises. The 1-minute manager makes it absolutely clear what each person's responsibilities are and what they're being held accountable for. The process is remarkably simple. For each major area of responsibility, the manager and the employee agree on a goal. Then, that goal is written down on a single sheet of paper. And here's the rule: it can be no more than 250 words. So simple that anyone can read it in under a minute. Both the manager and the employee keep a copy. This isn't about creating a mountain of paperwork, it's about clarity. They use the 80-20 rule, focusing on the 20% of goals that will produce 80% of the results. Usually, that means just 3 to 6 core goals for each person. The young man understood. So everyone knows what is expected from the beginning. "Exactly," said Trennell. "But it was more than just knowing your duties. It was also about knowing what good performance looks like." Trennell then told a story from when he was new. He ran into a problem and didn't know how to solve it, so he went to the 1-minute manager. "Sir, I have a problem," he said. Before he could continue, the manager replied, "Good, that's what you've been hired to solve," and then fell silent. The silence was deafening. Trennell stammered, saying he didn't know how to solve it. The manager invited him up, but he didn't give him the answer. Instead, he guided him through a series of questions. First, he asked, "Tell me what your problem is, but put it in behavioral terms. Tell me what is happening in observable, measurable terms. Then, now tell me what you would like to be happening, in behavioral terms." When Trennell couldn't answer, the manager said something sharp: "If you can't tell me what you'd like to be happening, you don't have a problem yet. You're just complaining. A problem only exists if there is a difference between what is actually happening and what you desire to be happening." Suddenly, Trennell knew what he wanted. The manager then had him brainstorm solutions, challenging each one by asking, "If you did that, would what you want to happen actually happen?" After a few failed ideas, Trennell came up with a solid plan himself. "Fantastic," Trennell exclaimed. "You solved my problem for me." The manager got annoyed again. "I did not," he interrupted. "You solved it yourself. I just asked you questions you are able to ask yourself. Now get out of here and start solving your own problems on your time, not mine." But as Trennell left, the manager looked him in the eye and said, "You're good, Trennell. Remember that the next time you have a problem." He had been tough, but he had also empowered him. That was the essence of 1-minute goal setting. It's not just about writing things down. It's about creating clarity and ownership from the very start. The summary of the first secret is this. 1. Agree on your goals. 2. See what good behavior looks like. 3. Write each goal on a single sheet of paper in less than 250 words. 4. Read and reread each goal frequently, which only takes a minute. 5. And every once in a while, take a minute to look at your performance and see if your behavior matches your goal. Feeling enlightened, the young man left Trennell's office and went to see the next person on the list, a young man named Mr. Levy. Levy greeted him with the same familiar line, "He's quite a guy, isn't he?" And like Trennell, he confirmed that he rarely saw the manager. "Yes, I know about 1-minute goal setting," the young man said, eager to show what he'd learned. "Actually," Levy said, "I was thinking of something else. I was referring to 1-minute praisings." This, Levy revealed, was the second secret. The second secret, 1-minute praisings. When Levy first started, the manager told him something very clearly. "I want you to succeed," he'd said. "So I'm going to give you crystal clear feedback. I'm going to let you know in no uncertain terms when you're doing well, and when you are doing poorly." After setting 1-minute goals with Levy, the manager did something unusual. He stayed in close contact. He observed Levy's work and had him send detailed progress reports. "At first I thought he was spying on me," Levy admitted. "That he didn't trust me." "So what was he really doing?" the young man asked. Levy leaned in with a smile. "He was trying to catch me doing something right." This was a revolutionary idea. Most managers are experts at catching people doing things wrong. It's the gotcha style of leadership. But the 1-minute manager operated on a different philosophy, summed up by a motto they had: help people reach their full potential. Catch them doing something right. So what happened when he caught Levy doing something right? "That's when he gives you a 1-minute praising," Levy said. The manager would walk over, maybe put a hand on his shoulder in a friendly, supportive way. He would look him straight in the eye and tell him precisely what he did right. He wouldn't just say, "Good job." He would be specific. "Levy, I saw how you handled that client complaint. You were patient, you listened, and you found a solution that made them happy. That was excellent." Then, he would share how good he felt about it. "That makes me feel so proud, and it helps the whole team when we build trust like that." After that, he would pause. A moment of silence. This pause was powerful. It was a moment for the positive feeling to sink in, for Levy to really feel the praise. And finally, he would encourage him to do more of the same and shake his hand, reaffirming that they were on the same side. The whole interaction often took less than a minute. This worked so well for a few key reasons. First, the praise was immediate. Levy didn't have to wait for an annual performance review to find out he was doing well. Second, it was specific, so he knew it was sincere and knew exactly what behavior to repeat. And third, the manager was consistent. He would give praise for good work even if he was having a bad day himself. "But doesn't he have to do this all the time?" the young man wondered. "No," Levy explained. "Just in the beginning, when you're learning something new. He's like a coach teaching you to swing a bat. At first, he praises you just for making contact with the ball. Then, for hitting it fair. Then, for hitting it into the outfield. He gradually shapes your behavior. After a while," Levy said, "you learn to catch yourself doing things right. You start to praise yourself, and that internal motivation keeps you going, even when the manager isn't around." The second secret was brilliantly simple. 1. Tell people up front you're going to give them feedback. 2. Praise people immediately when you see good performance. 3. Tell them specifically what they did right. 4. Tell them how good you feel about it and how it helps the organization. 5. Pause for a moment of silence to let them feel it. 6. Encourage them to do more of the same. 7. Shake hands or touch them in a way that shows your support. The young man was fascinated. 1-minute goal set the target. 1-minute praisings encouraged people to hit it. But a question lingered in his mind. Did this soft approach actually work in the real world? Did it produce bottom-line results? He decided to find out. He postponed his next meeting and went downtown to the company's headquarters. He met with an executive named Ms. Gomez and asked her a simple question. Which of your operations is the most efficient and effective in the entire country? He was expecting to hear about a plant with the newest technology or the most aggressive manager. He laughed when he heard her answer. You won't have to look very far, she said. It is the 1-minute managers. His operation was the best. And he had some of the oldest equipment. The young man, still looking for a catch, asked, what about turnover? Does he lose a lot of his people? Come to think of it, Ms. Gomez replied, he does have a lot of turnover. Aha! The young man thought, thinking he'd found the flaw. What happens to them? We give them their own operation to run, she said. He's our best trainer of people. Whenever we need a good manager, we call him. He always has somebody ready. The young man was amazed. The system worked. It produced not just results, but leaders. He returned the next day, excited to learn the third and final secret from the last person on his list, Ms. Brown. Ms. Brown was an experienced woman in her late 50s. She knew the operation inside and out. Like the others, she confirmed she hardly ever saw the manager. She set her own 1-minute goals and even did most of her own 1-minute praisings. So when do you see him? The young man asked. Essentially very little, she said. Except, of course, when I do something wrong. The young man was shocked. He thought the motto was to catch people doing things right. Ms. Brown explained that this was different. This was for experienced people. People who know how to do their job well, but make a mistake. If I make a significant mistake, she said, that's when I invariably get a 1-minute reprimand. This was the third secret. The third secret, 1-minute reprimands. The 1-minute reprimand, Ms. Brown explained, was swift and precise. As soon as the manager learned of a significant mistake, he would come to see her. He'd confirm the facts, then look her straight in the eye. There was no smile on his face. He would tell her, in no uncertain terms, exactly what she did wrong. Then, he would share how he felt about it, angry, frustrated, annoyed. He was completely honest with his feelings. This first part of the reprimand took only about 30 seconds, but she said, sometimes it seems forever to me. Then came the second uncomfortable silence. He would let his words sink in, letting her feel his frustration. Just as the young man was thinking how harsh this sounded, Ms. Brown described the second half of the reprimand. After the pause, the manager's entire demeanor would shift. He would look her in the eye and let her know how competent he thinks she usually is. He would reaffirm how much he valued her and respected her. He would say something like, the only reason I'm this upset is because I have so much respect for you, and this is so unlike you. He would make it crystal clear that he was reprimanding her behavior in this one situation, not her as a person. And then, it was over. Truly over. He didn't hold a grudge. He didn't bring it up again. The slate was clean. This is why it worked so powerfully. First, like the praising, it was immediate. He didn't save up grievances for a performance review in a practice called gunny sacking. He dealt with one behavior at a time, so the feedback was clear and fair. Second, he never attacked the person's worth. He separated the behavior from the individual. This is the crucial difference between a reprimand that builds someone up and criticism that tears them down. The message is, your behavior was not okay, but you are okay. And third, he was consistent. The 1-minute reprimand, the young man realized, was the other half of the equation. It was the tough side to the manager's nice side. But it wasn't tough on people, it was tough on poor performance. The third secret can be summarized like this. The first half. 1. Reprimand people immediately. 2. Tell them specifically what they did wrong. 3. Tell them how you feel about it, in no uncertain terms. 4. Pause for a few seconds of uncomfortable silence to let them feel it. The second half. 5. Shake hands or touch them in a way that lets them know you're on their side. 6. Remind them how much you value them as a person. 7. Reaffirm that you think well of them, but not of their performance in this one situation. 8. And realize that when the reprimand is over, it's over. The young man had now learned all three secrets. He returned to the 1-minute manager's office, his notebook full, his mind racing. He told the manager what he discovered: 1-minute goals for clarity, 1-minute praisings for reinforcement, and 1-minute reprimands for correction. "I'm amazed at how simple it is," the young man said. "But I need to understand why it all works so well." The manager smiled. "The more you understand why it works," he said, "the more apt you are to use it." And then, he began to explain the simple, profound psychology behind his methods. Why it all works. "Let's start with goals," the manager said. "I've never seen an unmotivated person after work. Everyone is motivated to do something. I once saw one of my worst employees at a bowling alley. He rolled a ball, got a strike, and he was screaming and jumping for joy. Why was he so excited?" "Because he knocked down all the pins," the young man replied. "Exactly. And why aren't people that excited at work?" The young man smiled, finally getting it. "Because they don't know where the pins are." The manager explained that this is the problem in most organizations. Managers know what they want, but they don't tell their people clearly. It's like bowling with a sheet hung up in front of the pins. You hear a crash, but you don't know how you did. The number one motivator of people is feedback on results. And you can't get feedback if you don't know the goal. 1-minute goals simply lift the sheet so everyone can see the pins. "Now, why do praisings work?" the manager continued. He told a story about training a pigeon to push a lever in a box. If you wait for the pigeon to do the whole task perfectly before you give it a food pellet, it will starve to death. Instead, you reward it for doing something approximately right. You reward it for just moving in the right direction. Then for getting closer. Then for touching the lever. You shape its behavior gradually. This is what trainers do with whales at sea parks. To teach a whale to jump high over a rope, they don't start with the rope high in the air. They start with it at the bottom of the pool. Every time the whale swims over it, it gets a fish. Then they raise the rope a little, and a little more, until finally, the whale is leaping out of the water. The key to training someone to become a winner, the manager said, is to catch them doing something right in the beginning, approximately right, and gradually move them towards the desired behavior. This is the opposite of the common leave-alone zap style, where managers ignore people until they make a mistake, and then punish them. That style creates fear and inaction. Praising creates confidence and progress. Finally, the manager said, "Why do reprimands work?" They work because they are immediate and they focus on a single behavior, not the person's worth. He told a story from ancient China about an emperor who decided to do all the rewarding, and he had his prime minister do all the punishing. Soon, no one listened to the emperor, but everyone jumped when the prime minister spoke. The emperor, seeing this, switched roles. Within a month, the prime minister was the new emperor. The people had thrown the old one out. Why? Because when a leader is first tough on the behavior, and then supportive of the person, it works. But when a leader who has always been nice suddenly gets tough, people resent it and reject them. The philosophy is tough and nice. Tough on the behavior, nice on the person. He shared a powerful, modern example: the crisis intervention method used to help alcoholics. Family members gather and, one by one, tell the person about specific, harmful behaviors they observed. Then they share how those behaviors made them feel: angry, scared, embarrassed. And finally, they touch the person and tell them how much they love them and want them to get well. This combination of confronting the behavior while reaffirming the person's worth is incredibly effective at creating change. The core principle behind it all is a simple truth: we are not just our behavior. We are the person managing our behavior. When a manager understands this, they can correct poor performance without damaging a person's spirit. They can build people up, even when they have to be tough. The young man listened, completely captivated. All the pieces clicked into place. The 3 secrets weren't just techniques, they were a philosophy of leadership rooted in clarity, respect, and a genuine desire to see people succeed. He looked at the 1-minute manager and said, "The power of your management style comes from one thing. You care about people." "Yes," the manager said simply. "I guess I do." The young man saw a job posting on his way out. He applied. And, of course, he got the job. He worked there for some time, learning and growing. And eventually, the inevitable happened. He became a 1-minute manager himself. Not because he talked like one, but because he behaved like one. He set 1-minute goals. He gave 1-minute praisings. He gave 1-minute reprimands. And most importantly, he encouraged the people he worked with to do the same, passing on the gift that had been given to him. Commentary. What a simple, beautiful little story. When the 1-minute manager first came out, I think a lot of people in the business world didn't know what to make of it. It's so short, so easy to read, that it's tempting to dismiss it as simplistic. But that's where its genius lies. Doctors Blanchard and Johnson boiled down decades of research in medicine and behavioral science into 3 common-sense principles that anyone can use. The most powerful lesson for me, and the one that I think matters more today than ever, is the idea that clarity is kindness. Think about how much anxiety, stress, and wasted effort comes from people simply not knowing what's expected of them. We see it in our jobs, in our schools, even in our families. We play guessing games, trying to figure out what our boss or our teacher or our parents want. The first secret, 1-minute goals, cuts right through that noise. It says, let's stop the games. Let's agree on what we're trying to do, write it down so we don't forget, and then get to work. Imagine the creative energy that would be unlocked in the world if everyone operated with that level of clarity. The second lesson that resonates so deeply is the shift from a deficit mindset to a positive one. Our culture is obsessed with criticism. We are experts at finding flaws. We look for what's wrong. The 1-minute praising flips that on its head. It asks you to become a detective for what's right. The motto, "Catch them doing something right," is a call to action. It forces you to look for the good, to acknowledge progress, and to build on strengths. This isn't just a management technique, it's a way to be a better parent, a better friend, a better human being. It's about building people up, not tearing them down. And finally, the 1-minute reprimand teaches us how to handle mistakes with dignity and respect. It's a masterclass in separating the action from the actor. So often, when we have to correct someone, we make it personal. We attack their character. The reprimand shows us a better way. Be tough on the behavior, but always, always be supportive of the person. It acknowledges that good people sometimes make bad choices, and that a mistake doesn't define them. When the reprimand is over, it's over. This principle of forgiveness and moving forward is desperately needed in a world that loves to hold on to grudges. So, how can you start applying these ideas right now? Today, here are 3 simple actions you can take. 1. Set 1-minute goal. Don't try to overhaul your whole life. Just pick one thing. Maybe it's a school project, a fitness goal, or a chore you keep putting off. Take out a piece of paper and write down, in less than 250 words, what success looks like. What will you do? And by when? Put it somewhere you can see it, and read it every morning for a week. See what that clarity does for you. 2. Give 1-minute praising. For the next 24 hours, actively look for an opportunity to catch someone doing something right. It could be a classmate, a sibling, or a parent. When you see it, don't just let the moment pass. Stop, look them in the eye, and tell them specifically what they did and why you appreciate it. Mom, dinner was amazing tonight. I know you're tired, and it means a lot that you still made such a great meal. Watch what happens. 3. Practice the self-reprimand. The next time you mess up, and you will, because we all do, try the technique on yourself. First, acknowledge the mistake honestly. I procrastinated on that assignment, and now I'm stressed. That was a poor choice. Feel the frustration for a moment. Then, immediately shift. Reaffirm your worth. But I'm a capable person, and I can fix this. This mistake isn't who I am. And then, move on. Let it be over. This little book is a gift. It reminds us that leadership isn't about being complex, it's about being human. It's about taking a minute to set clear goals, a minute to praise progress, and a minute to correct mistakes with respect. It's about realizing that the best minute you spend is the one you invest in people. That was a summary of The 1-Minute Manager by Kenneth Blanchard and Spencer Johnson. We've covered the core ideas today, but honestly, a summary is like looking at a postcard of the Grand Canyon. It gives you the idea, but it can't compare to the experience of standing on the edge yourself. The real magic of this book is in its simplicity and the way its story settles into your mind. This summary is here to help you decide if this journey is for you. If anything we talked about today struck a chord, if you feel a pull toward a simpler, more effective way of leading and living, then I encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning a few techniques, it's an experience that can genuinely shift how you see yourself, your work, and the people around you. Also, if you found this summary valuable and it gave you something to think about, I'd be so grateful if you'd hit that subscribe button. That way, you won't miss our next exploration into another one of the foundational books that have shaped the minds of great leaders and thinkers. Let's keep learning and growing together.